Welcome to the Coffee House, where in the next hour, it's America's biggest employer. But lately, communities are saying no to Walmart. We'll talk with Montgomery County Councilman Tom Perez about the future of big box development in the region. Keeping alive a tradition, we revisit the Archie Edwards Blues barbershop in Northeast D.C. Plus, Liz Lerman chats with Karen Bernstein, Associate Director at CityDance Ensemble. Local legend Bill Kirchen sings "There's a Man at the Bottom of the Well," and he's joined by Swedish bluesman Robert Lighthouse. DJ Renegade offers up the Lord's Prayer, Projects style. And Susan Leonard joins Reuben Jackson to talk about her humorous first novel. And then they were nuns. Welcome to the forum at the Coffee House, where our topic is big box retail development, warehouse clubs, discount department stores, and category killers like Circuit City and Home Depot. Huge retailers all with footprints upwards of 200,000 square feet. That's 31 football fields. Of course, when we talk about it, there's nothing quite like Walmart. According to Business Week Online, 82% of American households bought something at Walmart in 2002, lured by those everyday low prices. Walmart is the world's largest company and the biggest employer on this continent. It's also America's largest retailer of CDs, videos, magazines, groceries, and household staples, and is not far behind in apparel and drugstore sales. But are Walmarts and big box development a net plus for our communities? More on this from Montgomery County Council Member Tom Perez. Welcome, Tom, back to the Coffee House.
Here, Mark.
People are voting with their feet. Mm-hmm. They're going to
all
Walmart.
of them.
Yeah, all of them. I guess it's partly that there's a 15% or so discount that people get when they go to Walmart. It's the convenience of shopping at a single location with plenty of parking. They seem to be saying that bigger is better, yet you and the council members are saying maybe not. Why is that?
Well, maybe I'm hearing from a different set of constituents, but I'm hearing from constituents who are saying we want to manage our growth in an appropriate manner. We have a horrible problem of traffic congestion here, and we need to figure out growth management tools, and that's what the county council does. We regulate land use. And what we're doing in the county is not saying to Walmart, to Wegmans, or to anyone, you can't come. We're just simply setting up a set of rules that govern how this process would work. And so anybody who wants to come into the county and open up a business, whether it's Walmart or someone else, can do it. It's just that if you want to open up a business that is larger than 120,000 square feet, you have to go through a different set of rules. So this doesn't exclude anyone from coming into the county. It simply says if you're going to get beyond a certain size and you have a certain percentage of that size is basically food items, non-taxables we call them, then you have to jump through some more hoops, and that way it's a good way to control traffic.
But these companies, these big box companies, larger than 120,000 square feet often, especially when they're food-based, the supercenters like at Walmart, they'll argue that they're a boon to a local economy, that offer retailing, they offer quality goods at a discounted price that people can afford, and that builds the local economy.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of things we take into account when we make decisions about zoning and things of that nature. We also have to take into account other quality of life issues. And again, if Walmart, we have a Walmart in Germantown, so we haven't said to Walmart you can't locate in Montgomery County. They are here. They're in Germantown. And so what we're trying to do isn't regulating any one company. It's simply saying we are very concerned about creating sprawl malls where you clear-cut entire communities to create more concrete to attract companies and stores that are going to exacerbate the gridlock that everybody's talking about in Montgomery County and that has everyone tearing their hair out, present company excluded. And that's what we're trying to do. Again, so if Walmart wants to come in, they can. But we're simply saying you have to satisfy certain requirements under what's called the special exception in our
Why
county zoning.
120,000 square feet? Rockville says 65,000 square feet.
Well, actually,
Gaithersburg says 80,000 square feet.
And we have been trying to be as flexible as possible. You're absolutely right. Prince William County is 80,000 square feet. Other communities are far less than 120,000 square feet. And we felt that we could go up to 120,000 square feet without running into the traffic concerns and the other related congestion issues that would come into play. So, in fact, as you correctly point out, Mark, many communities have done this and have been far more restrictive than what we're proposing.
There seems to be some debate about this on the county council, however, at least over the size that the big boxes should be allowed to, what kind of footprint they can have.
Right. Well, the county executive introduced a bill or asked that a bill be introduced, and I wholeheartedly agree with his approach to this. That bill set the limit at 120,000 square feet, and it also indicated that if more than 10%, if you were above 120,000 and you had more than 10% of your square footage devoted to food or non-taxable items, then you were subject to the special exception process. So, for instance, if Home Depot wanted to open up a 140,000 square foot Home Depot, it wouldn't be subject to this because it's not a combination store. And the logic of that is it doesn't generate as many trips as a combination store would, and therefore the traffic concerns aren't as great.
And is that really what it comes down to, traffic concerns? Anything else?
Growth management. I'm not a fan of small malls. I want us to have communities where we can go and be nearby. I love going to the hardware store at the corner of Flower and Piney Branch and being able to get things.
But on that ground alone, there's studies that indicate that for every supercenter, Walmart supercenter that opens with a grocery facility, that 2 supermarkets shut down that are neighborhood supermarkets. On that basis alone, should they be permitted?
Well, I think that's bad public policy when you're putting other people out of business. My concern here, and our rational basis, as will be called to task potentially in a court, is about regulating growth, and that's what we do as a county. I am concerned. I have ancillary concerns about issues such as what is the effect when someone comes in and puts the ma and pa hardware store, the ma and pa grocery store out of business. I like.
Why is this a local issue at all? Why isn't this a federal issue? Back in 1936, the Congress passed the Robinson-Patman Act, I believe it's called, which is an antitrust act, which was an attempt to protect mom and pop groceries essentially from A&P, which was the Walmart of that day.
Well, I think land use, as a general matter, has been a local issue, and this is at root a land use issue. I've heard a lot of other people define it in various ways. This is a bill to keep Walmart out of Montgomery County. Well, again, Walmart can come into Montgomery County. Anyone can come into Montgomery County, but if you want to build it bigger than 120,000 square feet, you've got to jump through some other hoops.
All right, let's talk about those hoops. What should be done? What kind of land use regulation should be in place apart from the 120,000 square feet if it's a mixed-use facility?
Right. If it's a mixed-use facility and it's more than 120,000 square feet and you have at least 10% of that square footage devoted to non-taxable goods, then you have to obtain what we call a special exception, which is a process where you go to a body called the Board of Appeals and you have to apply and show that issues such as traffic mitigation and other concerns have been met. It is a high bar, but it is a bar that businesses meet all the time when they're seeking to build other stores or seeking to expand a gas station or something else. And so that's what we're creating. We're using our authority as the land use regulator, and that's what the county council really does. And I do think it is a local issue. I don't think it's a national issue. And that's why various communities across the country are doing it. We're using that authority to say, this is the kind of community we want to live in. We want to live in a community that isn't dominated by sprawl malls, that doesn't have everyone having to get in their car every time they want to get a bag of nails or a bottle of milk. Basic things like that. Let's not have everyone climbing into their cars. Let's build communities near our homes that are sustainable.
How about people who need to get prescription drugs? You're also the person on the council who pushed through legislation in Montgomery County that would enable importation of prescription drugs from Canada, which is something the federal government opposes. How does that play out?
Well, we have two problems in Montgomery County as it relates to this issue. We have a fiscal crisis, and that fiscal crisis is still here, and we have a healthcare crisis. The cost of prescription drugs, the cost of providing that benefit to our employees over the last 6 years has doubled in 6 years. That is an unsustainable trajectory. And so in order to meet our obligations under contracts with our various unions, and I'm a strong supporter of honoring collective bargaining agreements, we are having just a devil of a time doing it. And if we can get a handle on the cost of prescription drugs, we can really make headway. The city of Springfield, Massachusetts has a program in place allowing their employees to purchase their maintenance meds from Canada. Maintenance meds are, I'm on Lipitor, for instance, because I have high cholesterol, things like that that you take every day. They are saving $6 million a year, Springfield, which is far smaller than Montgomery County. And so we could save far more than $6 million. And you can do it in a way that's safe, that is legal, and that is cost effective. And so that's why I think we should be moving forward with this, and the majority of my colleagues agree, and that's why we're well on our way to putting that program in place.
You mentioned that you're a supporter of honoring union agreements. You got yourself into a little bit of a thicket with Comcast, where you were supporting the reinstatement of an employee, Stephen White, who actually has been reinstated, perhaps because of negative publicity that Comcast suffered by issuing a subpoena for you and your fellow Leventhal for an NLRB proceeding. Tell us about that.
Right. Well, I have to admit that I plead guilty to the offense of being a union sympathizer, Senator McCarthy. And what happened there is I believe in the following principle, and I believe very strongly in it, and that is the principle that employees should be able to make a free choice about whether or not they want to join a union, and employers shouldn't interfere with that choice. Comcast did it repeatedly, and I think that's wrong. And I was standing up for working people not only at Comcast but elsewhere in doing that. And they are virulently anti-union, not only here but across the country. And they wanted to send a message to me and to Stephen White and to others that they will go to any length to keep unions out. And the fact that he's back is a real indication that they went way too far. And I think that's not good for Montgomery County.
Very quickly, the last time you were on the show we were talking about Pepco. It was after Isabel and a prior summer storm. We're back into hurricane season. We're seeing severe weather across the country. What can you tell us about the changes that Pepco has or has not made since that time?
We've had a number of meetings with Pepco, and they've identified areas where they have their most severe infrastructure challenges. Regrettably, they happen to be where you and I live, because those are the down county where you have a lot of mature trees, Bethesda, Silver Spring, Tacoma Park. And they are working on a plan to address that. Those plans include more pruning of trees, selective undergrounding, and I think they've at least professed a renewed commitment to customer service, which I think was dismal in last year's debacle. And so at this point, we're continuing to hold their feet to the fire. I still believe that in Annapolis, that's where this change should be effected, and the Public Service Commission hasn't held their feet to the fire in an effective manner. And that's why we continue to monitor that very closely.
Thank you very much. Council Member Tom Perez for joining us to talk about prescription drug importation, Pepco readiness, Comcast labor policies, and big box development. We leave you with this thought from The Daily Show's Jon Stewart.
You know something about Walmart? I don't do it for the money. They do it to ruin your town.
In 1959, Archie Edwards opened a barbershop in Northeast Washington, D.C. Over the years, Archie's shop was not only a place to get a haircut, but a place to hear the blues. Archie Edwards was in fact one of the most gifted players of the Piedmont style of blues, acoustic music with its roots in the farmlands of Virginia. The barbershop was a gathering place for musicians from all walks of life, from eager beginners to the legendary bluesman Mississippi John Hurt. They all came to swap their songs and their stories. Archie died in 1998, but his friends still carry on the tradition that he began. Every Saturday, the barbershop opens its doors to musicians who love to play the blues, and to anybody who wants to listen.
In the mid-'80s, I was playing blues harmonica, and I went to the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, see Cephas and Wiggins. And there was this guy named Archie Edwards who was playing. And the first thing that came to my mind was, man, this guy's got an ego problem. Because there's two guys playing guitar, and he's the only one on the stage. Got the other guy, poor guy, sitting in the back. Well, then a couple of minutes later, I realized that Archie was doing it all by himself. And I said, man, I got to learn how to do that. So I introduced myself to him, and he invited me to the barbershop. So anyway, I was there. We kind of hung out for about 15 years.
I worked all the summer.
Yeah, Archie was my barber as well as my friend. The thing to do, though, you had to catch him before he's ready to play music. Oftentimes you'd come in and he'd have a barbershop, the wall would be lined up with people. A couple of musicians come in with guitars in their hand. Oh, okay, well, I'm finished cutting hair for today. I'm gonna play me some blues now, drink me a beer. And I've seen this happen, it's happened to me. Half your head is cut. And a guy hits a wrong note, Archie would put down the, put the clippers down. No, let me show you. And it might be 30 minutes. Everybody knew you sit there patiently waiting. What we try to do is we try to keep it as close to the way Archie had it as we can. We only have two rules. One rule is we need to play acoustic music. Archie had this phobia about electricity. Oh, the guitar was a great instrument until they electrocuted the damn thing. And the other rule is respect each other.
Oh, Lord, girl, it ain't right. You got two men loving you one more day.
Always to me, it never was just the music. The music represented an aspect of African American heritage, or let's say American heritage. You know, it represents an aspect of both of those. And what you're kind of doing when you come in the barbershop, you open the door peeking into the past. You know, and that part, I mean, that's for everybody.
I've always liked blues. I know people who say, well, I didn't really like it, and then later I did, but I never had that. The minute I heard it, I really liked it. When I was young, we used to get this radio station, WLAC. People all over the United States will listen to it. All of this really, really fine blues, and that's the first place I ever really heard it. And I just liked it, and I've always liked it.
Well, the country blues stopped being a popular music probably around the time of World War II. However, if you look at, this is just my personal opinion, you can divide blues into two categories. Blues for entertainment, and which is played in Chicago, and that's the popular blues. Then you have the blues that I call for the cultural blues. And that's the front porch guy sitting there with his guitar telling stories. And the old country blues. And to me, it's no different than Irish folk music or Greek folk music, Italian folk music. And it has the same cultural significance as that music does. country blues, especially more so than even the urban contemporary blues, to a lot of black people conjures up things we want to forget, like Jim Crow, lynching, discrimination, beating the KKK, and all of that goes into a mix together. I like to hear, I don't want to hear old slave music, but actually, if they really listen to it, it's not about it's about redemption. It's about thumbing your nose at, which is probably the only thing you could do at that time. You thumb your nose at the conventions and at Jim Crow. Like I consider hip hop and I consider rap as urban contemporary. It's urban blues. Same stories, same stories. And what the kids need to understand is, well, if you can listen to the guys out here now, you can relate to that, then you should be able to listen to Blind Number Jefferson, Son House. They're telling the same stories, and they were the rappers of their day.
I got a wife, sweetheart too. The wife don't treat me like the sweetheart do. That won't do. No, that won't do. You hear me singing, man, that won't do.
When Archie died, we just hated the idea of the barbershop closing down, becoming a donut shop or something. It's just a horrible thought. So what we did was we all kind of pitched in and to keep it open, and then we were able to form a nonprofit, and we subsist on donations. And sometimes the barbershop gets gigs for the barbershops.
Took it to the mill, but it come right back. Said, what's the matter with the mill?
It done broke down.
What's the matter with the mill?
It done broke down.
Can't get no grind. Tell me what's the matter with the mill? People been talking all over town, telling me the mill has done broke down. What's the matter with the mill?
It done broke down.
What's the matter with the mill?
It done broke down.
Can't get no grind. Tell me what's the matter with the mill? You can say can't get no grind too if you want.
The barbershop is important to me, first on a personal level, because I have a lot of memories of time spent here with Archie, and those are times you just, are in my memory forever.
It's more than a living museum. It's we hope to do some outreach to other places, other groups, and as well as to be here for people to meet and know each other and play music and be friends.
Down Black Mountain, so they say, drinking shining state, drunk all day talking about Black Mountain. So they say, where they drink of moonshine, they drunk all day.
Welcome to In Step at the Coffee House. It's only been around for 8 years, but CityDance Ensemble has already established itself as a major force among the DC area's modern dance companies. CityDance seeks out multicultural dancers, composers, musicians, and leading choreographers to produce concerts that achieve, in the words of the Washington Post, a uniformly high level of artistry and excellence. The company performs throughout the region, and this past summer it toured Eastern Europe and was honored with a residency at the renowned Mussorgsky Theater in St. Petersburg, Russia. This coming January, CityDance will become the resident dance company in Bethesda. We are pleased to be joined by CityDance Ensemble's Associate Director, Karen Bernstein. Karen, welcome to the Coffee House, and I'm so glad you're here. Thanks. I know we want to talk about CityDance, but really I'd like to start with just you personally, because you are unusual in that you have managed to make a wonderful career as a dancer and performer here in the Washington area. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's been like?
So I arrived, well, I actually, believe it or not, was born in Washington and came back after school in 1975 and actually had an apartment already picked out in New York City, but had to come back to the Washington area because of family problems. So I was very disappointed and thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And the first thing I did was go to a performance of Jan Van Dyke. And I thought, oh, maybe this won't be so bad. And since then, I've had a rich and wonderful performing and teaching career and have never looked back.
It's wonderful. It's worth saying that at that time, and still a little bit, people feel like they have to make it by going to New York, but you really bucked that trend, and of course, we're the better for it. Just a couple of highlights in these years, and then take us up to CityDance.
Well, so I performed with Jan Van Dyke for few years, and then she moved on, which I was very sad.
Yeah.
And also performed with Maryland Dance Theater that was out of the University of Maryland College Park that again was a wonderful repertory company.
An incredible company.
Very good.
Yeah.
And that was a wonderful time. And then when that folded, I approached Alvin Mays and said, you know, why don't we make a duet company, see how it goes, you know? And at that point we really didn't know exactly where we wanted to go or, you know, what we wanted to do with it. And we ended up performing together for 14 years. And it was, we went from performing 3 times a year to 99 times a year, you know. Had a very full performance schedule and an early arts program also.
So anybody listening can tell, I hope, how resourceful you are. That it's a combination of taking these huge leaps of faith. Alvin, let's do something.
I know.
To you know, staying with companies that had been around for a while, like Maryland Dance Theater. So now here you are with CityDance Ensemble. Tell us a little bit about that.
CityDance Ensemble has been a pleasure. It's a multicultural 14-member repertory company.
What do you mean multicultural?
Okay. There's, let's see, we have a male from Angola, one from Switzerland, one from France. We have African Americans, we have, you know, white. We like the mix. The more the mix that we can get, the better. And that goes too for the composers that we work with and the musicians that we work with. You know, we really like to see a great mix of people.
And actually this international piece is important. You just had Jacek Leminski here, who is from Poland and is an incredible choreographer.
And that was a wonderful experience for the dancers. He really and truly had his own way of moving. It was a new language for these dancers. And he had it taken through very slowly to learn this technique.
This is hard, I think, for people to understand that as incredible as dancers are to most people in the public, look what they can do. Sometimes it is like learning a particular language, and so when somebody comes in and has a whole other way of doing something, it's a challenge.
Well, this is what's so terrific about CityDance, and this is what I love about it also, is that it is a repertory company. So we commission all different choreographers from everywhere, from this area, from New York, and from abroad to come and set pieces. So they are challenged constantly. You know, they go with the mainstream modern, and then we throw a jazz dance at them, and then like a piece from Leminski, and then we're getting Verone in to set a piece for us, which I'm very excited about. And again, this is another entirely different language that they love. I mean, it's a challenge and it's exciting.
Well, I know we have a little footage, so let's see if we can take a look at some of the dancing, and maybe after we look at it for a second, you can describe to us what we're seeing. So, there.
This piece right here is, this piece is a 9/11 piece. It's choreographed by Vladimir Angelov. Just a wonderful piece. Deep Surface. This is a piece before you just saw Dana. There's Dana Burgess. Beautiful piece called Fractures. And these dancers are just wonderful. They're very versatile. And you can see from the repertory that you're seeing, it's very technical in some ways, very dramatic.
Which means that the way the dancers train, study, sustain themselves has to include all this.
Yes. This last piece that you just saw, this one is Suitcase by Vladimir. There was a little section of a piece from Paul's artistic director.
Good. Yeah, they look very strong.
You're also seeing Rasta Thomas in here, which right here.
Who's that?
He performs with the Dance Theater of Harlem. Wonderful performer.
So you have
from
guest
the
artists
Washington
as
area.
well?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good. So now the big news for CityDance Ensemble is that you're at Strathmore. What's that like? Tell us about it. What can we expect?
This is a dream come true for any dance company. Number one problem in Washington is the studio space. You just cannot find rehearsal space.
Right.
This will, not only will we be the dance company in residence, which means that all of our rehearsals will take place at Strathmore. We also will run the dance program there. The Strathmore is built with the 2,000-seat theater, which is state-of-the-art, unbelievable. Will be wonderful to have here in Montgomery County. And then next to it, right next to it, is the educational wing, right attached to it. We will run the dance program, as I said, and Levine School of Music will teach the music. So, but in the midst of this, we have the Baltimore Symphony, we have the National Philharmonic, we have Washington Performing Arts Society.
So there's a lot of interchange between the groups, but what does it mean to have an educational program? I mean, what will it mean for people who live nearby or for people around the county?
It's just going to be great. It's right on the metro stop, which is wonderful.
Right, you get off
we
the
will
metro
have,
and you're
yes,
there.
and it's a covered bridge that will lead directly to our center. It will call City Dance Center. It will offer programs for young, all through 100 years old.
Good, good, good.
And all levels, all ages, and all styles of dance.
Good.
Yeah, and a full program for all day long.
Great.
Every day of the week.
I do think that one of the sort of future ideas of dance is to get away from when it used to be you would study ballet on one side of town and modern on the other side of town, and never the twain should meet. And of course now everybody needs to learn so many different forms of dance. So it sounds like you guys are going to be able to do that.
It's very exciting.
That's wonderful. So what are some of the obstacles, do you think, facing the company right now?
It's like for everybody, the money is always an issue. And going into Strathmore, money is a very big issue. You know, we need some funds to start off with. So, you know, it's like everyone else, especially after all the things that are going on in the world. The money seems to be scarcer and scarcer, but, you know, we're finding ways.
So what kind of a case do you make for people who maybe don't understand why dance? What's so important about it? Why should you guys, you know, what's the big deal?
Come and see us. That's what we say. And they come and see us, and they see what it means to the dancers, what it means to the audience, the feelings that you get from the dance, the emotions. You can't describe it. So they have to come and see us to understand it. And come to love it as much as we do.
And this year, what projects are you most looking forward to?
Oh, well, we will have a performance at Strathmore, so we're very excited about that. This will be on stage. They did build the dance floor, which we're excited about.
Explain that for a second.
Not all stages have a dance floor, and it's very important for our dancers to be able to spring in order to jump. They can't land on a hard floor. If they land on a hard floor, then, you know, they hurt their knees, they hurt their legs, they hurt everything, backs included. So with the sprung floor, you know, you absolutely must have it for a professional company. So that's one of the things we're very excited about. We also have a good possibility of going to Africa, so can't wait to see how that comes through. And we'll be going back to Russia, and very excited about that.
What's it like a day in Russia?
It's so different. In St. Petersburg, they live for the arts. They will go to a program in the morning, a program in the afternoon, a program in the evening, and that's all they want to do. Art is their life, you know, it's everything that they want. So it's a great feeling. And we also had a teaching residency, so that was really fun. You know, having these dancers come in, and modern is very new in St. Petersburg.
Right.
So it's like they wanted more and more and more and more. As much as we could give them, they wanted. So that was great.
Well, maybe with you guys at Strathmore, we can convince everybody in Montgomery County to live for dance.
Oh, yes. I hope
just
so.
like they do in Russia. That would be just fantastic. Well, I just wish you the best, you guys. I just think it's incredible that you have this opportunity out there, and all these wonderful dancers that you're bringing. And maybe just one last word for us about the kind of classic? If you're a 100-year-old person or a
Okay,
5-year-old
yes.
person,
So we have a
what should
whole
you
program.
what should
It's
you
called
do?
Dance for Life, and it will offer Tai Chi and yoga and Pilates, stretch. You know, we'll offer anything
Great.
for.
So
the
come and move.
older. Yes,
Come and
come
move.
and move and
at
enjoy.
Strathmore. Wonderful. Karen, it's great to have you here.
It's great.
Many thanks to City Dance Ensembles, Karen Bernstein, for joining me in the coffee house. Good luck with your new partnership with Strathmore. I'm Liz Lerman, and this has been In Step.
There's a man in the bottom of the well. Did he jump? Was he pushed? Is he lying where he fell? Is he looking down from heaven or staring up from hell? There's a man in the bottom of the well. He's looking up at me with eyes so wide and deep. And I wonder, is he always there? And does he ever sleep? So I spend my time thinking about the tale he's got to tell. There's a man in the bottom of the well. Don't go there for water. You might walk away as dry as dust and bone. Or you might see your mother's son or daughter forever wreathed by water or by stone. Made a wish, tossed 2 pennies down. They ricocheted, and the wish I made spun them round and round, till they shattered my reflection and the soul I've got to sell. There's a man in the bottom of the well. Well, is he looking down from heaven, staring up from hell? There's a man in the bottom of the well. And there's a man in the bottom of the well.
Well, welcome, Bill. Welcome to
Thank
the
you,
Coffee
David.
House musical
All right.
traditions segment here. That's a cheery little number. What was that about?
I don't know. It's so angst-ridden, I can't even remember.
Man.
I made it up myself. And,
You're not
that's the
becoming a
problem.
singer-songwriter, are you?
Well, I don't know. It had to come out.
Oh,
it would
man.
have surfaced in other less socially acceptable ways.
Yeah. This is
Like
kind
John,
of...
we had a band with John Starling for a while, and he said about that song, if you know what that song's about, you weren't paying attention.
Oh, good. Good John Starling remark.
That's right.
This is kind of cool. The last couple times we've done stuff together has been acoustic.
Yeah.
And
So much lighter.
Yeah, you don't have to lug the amp in and around.
That's right.
But it's kind of neat. It's showing a whole different side. Normally you're with the band Too Much Fun. You are the band Too Much Fun.
That's right. Me and Johnny and Jack. Johnny Castle.
How long has that trio
It's
been
about the trio itself has been around for a while, and Johnny's been with me 10 years, over 10 years, and Jack pushing 10, 9, 8, 9, something like that.
Huh. You know, I was thinking about this the other day, that there's probably a whole bunch of people coming up hearing your music that don't know about any connection to this guy, Commander Cody.
Right.
They think Too Much Fun was the initial band.
That's right. If I think back to how long ago that really, I mean, that was 30 years ago. And,
yeah.
You know, so it's getting up there.
It's a cool thing. But hey, wait a minute, look at that.
Hey.
Is that young bluesman?
It is.
Robert Lighthouse?
Robert.
Look, we got 2 mics.
Shall we?
We got an
What do you think,
acoustic
Robert?
guitar. We can
Come
do
on
it.
up here.
Planned spontaneity.
Hey, Robert. Good to see you. Well, Robert, shall we play an unreconstructed hillbilly tune? Now let's play a blues song. I learned to play the guitar to play Mississippi John Hurt songs. That's who I wanted to be when I grew up, and I guess I'll never make it, but here's a John Hurt tune anyway. What's it called? Spike Driver Blues? John Henry? I don't know, something like that. It's in G. There you go. Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Won't you tell him I'm gone? Tell him I'm gone. Won't you tell him I'm gone? This is the hammer that killed John Henry, but it won't kill me. No, it won't kill me. It won't kill me. Now John Henry, he laid his hammer down by the road, alongside the road, down by the road. This is the hammer that killed John Henry, but it won't kill me. No, it won't kill me. Now take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Won't you tell him I'm gone? Won't you tell him I'm gone? Won't you tell him I'm gone?
The creator is my homie. He lets me know when to cool out in the park and when to chill by the river. He schools me with knowledge of self, keeps me doing the right thing to protect his rep. And yo, even when I step through the shadows of the buildings and the projects, I don't sweat it, because he got my back. He flexes whenever suckers try to get ill, puts me down by law, so I'm definitely hooked up. So I'll be living large until I'm out of here, and then I'll be chilling at his crib forever. Peace.
Welcome to Writer's Block at the Coffee House. Our guest teaches literature and writing at the University of Maryland. She's the author of 2 books of nonfiction, Dangerous by Degrees, I love this title, and The Diva's Mouth. Susan J. Leonardi's first novel is the intriguing, humorous, infectious, And Then They Were Nuns, which takes place in the unforgettable, and that's true, Julian Pines Alley. Welcome, Susan, to the Coffee House. I'd offer you my coffee, but you've got your own there. Thanks so much for coming. My
pleasure.
Thank you again. What I'd like to do is to get all these wonderful people out here to buy your book. So if we can, without stepping too far into the plot, just start by just giving us kind of a brief but tantalizing summation of the plot. Brief but tantalizing is always good.
Well, this book takes place at a women's monastery in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. And the monastery has been in existence since the 60s. But it's a kind of unusual monastery in that the women who started it were kind of breaking away from the more traditional kind of monastery. And so the women who are there, and it varies between 8 and 12 at various points in their history, they are really struggling to figure out what they're doing there and where they fit into the larger scheme of monasticism, Catholicism, spirituality. They make a lot of mistakes and do a lot of interesting explorations along the way.
So they live their lives.
They live their lives.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's one of the great strengths of the book, and kind of amplifying upon that. We were talking a bit about this before we came on the air, but I equated the structure of the book with an orchestration, a musical orchestration. And could you just kind of touch just a bit on the structure and how how the characters kind of intersect each other?
Mm-hmm. Well, the chapters are narrated by different members of the community. Not always in the first person, they're sometimes third person, but they're through the consciousness of one of the characters. And sometimes you get a version of events from 2 different points of view. And the segments go pretty much chronologically, but there's also a lot of backtracking. And so it's in that backtracking that sometimes you get the repetition of a theme from 2 different points of view.
Yeah, I think it's most effective too. It's and in that sense, it is like music, that like a theme and recapitulation. And I think it works very well. Another thing I was thinking about, and as you know, we were talking on the way up here. Your book just kind of brought up so many conversations I've had with myself and with other people who've read it. But we talked about this notion of characterization and how, as an instructor, you'll have students ask you if you are or if you were. Are you now or were you ever X character or Y character?
But, card-carrying nun.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not what I wanted to ask you. What I did want to ask you was if you had a favorite character. I mean, I certainly do, but it is not my book, so I don't know if anyone's ever. And why, of course.
Well, Beatrice is one of my favorite characters. Beatrice is the abbess for most of the novel, and I think I love Beatrice because as she plays in the novel to many of the other nuns, she's a kind of fantasy mother. I very much like Anne, and I think that Anne is the writer, and of course, I'm writing too. Sure. So I think a lot of Anne's struggles to get things on paper are similar to my struggles getting things on paper. The character I actually liked least when I started working on was Donna, who's a veterinarian and who has more animal skills than people skills. And yet I find myself coming back to Donna over and over again.
Why do you think that's happened?
Maybe because I'm not an animal person. And so trying to put myself into the head of an animal person, and many of my friends are. So, trying to work through some of those issues has been pretty interesting for me.
Yeah, another reason I asked that was I was rereading an essay actually Alice Walker had done about putting the color purple together, and her relationship to the characters. And I guess for anyone who's written, you find that there is this, I kind of call it the X factor, that these people, you may know them, you may not know, but they kind of inhabit this central part of your life for a great bit of time.
Oh, absolutely. I live half in Julian Pines Abbey when I'm writing.
Oh yeah. See,
it's hard to pull me out sometimes.
I can imagine. It's a most intriguing place, and yet one of the other things I wanted to ask you about was the sense of humanity, which I think is present in the book. And again, we had the pleasure of talking beforehand. I think one of the most demystifying acts an author or anyone can do when spirituality is one of the themes is to convey, whether it's a sense of joy or sadness or struggle, just the kind of everyday sorts of things. And I'm assuming, and you can tell me if that's not the case, this was deliberate on your part.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think that I wanted to, for one thing, I wanted to show women at work. I think so many times in novels, in contemporary novels, a woman might even have a profession, but when do we actually see her working?
Yes.
And so I wanted to see these women really struggling to make a living for themselves. But struggling at all kinds of other things as well, struggling at their relationships with one another, struggling at, what are they doing in this thing called the Catholic Church, if indeed that's where they are, which is a question that the novel brings up.
Yeah, I think it's, and I congratulate you on this it's a really sublime mix of these elements, and it's a hard thing to do. So I think that again your book does many things very well, but that's to kind of focus in on again kind of internal struggle and the reactions of family members and sensuality and those sorts of things. It's again we were talking about this and it's not only does I think it make it easier for a reader, but it can kind of put you in that place whether you were a Catholic nun or not, and I was and am not. But anyway, but I guess
surprised to hear that.
Yeah, boy. Oh, will the readers be surprised? Oh, sorry, fans. Anyway, well, how long did it take you? Here's a less lofty question. I guess we want. How long did it take you to complete the book? And will there, the most American of questions, will there be a sequel?
There, in fact, is a sequel, and it will come out in about a year.
Great. You have a title yet?
I'm calling it Nun Country right now.
Oh boy!
But
that's catchy though.
It may turn out to be different. I changed the title of this one. It took me way too long to write. I teach full time, and so writing was kind of snatched here and there. During the summers, I would write.
Oh, I understand.
So it actually ended up taking me about 15 years. Isn't that awful?
As a fellow writer, I'd say no. You look that was a few gray hairs ago for me. So anyway, but you think that was too long?
Well, I actually wrote a novel before this about the same characters that ended up being pulled apart and thrown out, and but that's and that I started even earlier. So I've been living with these characters for a very long time. They've become good friends to me.
And I think it shows. I mean, I think that, not to argue with you about your time struggle, but, you know, it's kind of like polishing a diamond, and you see the results, I think, in your book. So, and, you know, we're all the richer for it, as my mother would say at Christmas. Hi, Mom. Well, I'd like to thank you once again for coming, and your book is very, very fine effort, and we have 30 seconds, so I'll have to sign out here. But again, thank you.
My pleasure. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Okay. Many thanks to Susan Leonardi for joining us in the coffee house to discuss her novel. It's not rolling. What the hell? Sorry. Should I do that again? Sorry. Okay. Oh, that's a lie. Sorry, it wasn't rolling. Forgive me. Discuss her novel, And Then There Were Nuns. I'm Reuben Jackson, and this has been Writer's Block.